This is Rugby Roundup. Coming up, we hear from Ian Smith on Moseley's defeat, Worcester win again, and another defeat for Bees. Hello and welcome to Rugby Roundup. I'm joined by our rugby correspondent Brian Dick. Hi Brian.
Hi Christina.
Well, first up it's Moseley, and it was an eventful night at Billesley Common, wasn't it?
It was also a truncated night. Referee Rowan Kitt brought proceedings to a halt 7 minutes early, and there weren't too many grumbles in the crowd because it had been a pretty poor game. But yeah, the floodlight situation, there's been a problem from whenever they've played evening matches. Reared its ugly head again on Tuesday night, and it's a pretty embarrassing situation for what we're supposed to be thinking of in terms of a professional with a small P rugby club. They need to get this light situation sorted, because whilst they probably weren't going to beat Bedford, they were within 7 points and an interception try, and they get a draw or whatever. They didn't get the opportunity because the lights went.
So how would you describe their performance?
Well, it was a perfect storm in terms of the quality of the game. It was a very, very ordinary game. Both sides had played on Saturday in the British and Irish Cup, so there are a lot of tired players out there. The officiating around the set pieces it angered both sides. So the referee's got to be doing quite well to aggravate both teams. So that there was no rhythm to the match, and neither side could guarantee any decent set piece possession. So tired players, not much ball, and we got 10 penalties, 5 each side, and just one try, and that probably told the tale.
Well, after the game, we caught up with Ian Smith.
Quite poor, I think, as a spectacle. In terms of a game of rugby, it was also quite poor. I think that we had an opportunity there that we didn't take. It obviously stuttered and spluttered. I think the man in the middle had quite a big role to play in that. I think the fact is we're all talking about the referee instead of the game, even though it was a poor spectacle. But you've got to get on with it, really. Two look like two pretty jaded sides, really, playing a game quite close together. But I think, to be fair, if we'd have put a little bit of stuff together, especially up front, we could have snuck with that. But we just we spluttered and stuttered up front a little bit. Line out time, scrum, we couldn't do a thing because of the interpretation, shall we say. And so nothing took place, really. The backs must be quite livid, having not a lot of ball. A funny old game.
Well, that was a disappointed Ian Smith. Now moving on to Worcester, and they scored 5 tries in a great win at Doncaster.
They did. They didn't start off in great fashion. They were made to work pretty hard by the Knights. The sides had met at Six Ways earlier in the season, and Worcester only edged that with a last-minute penalty. And it looked as though for 40 minutes of this match, it looked as though it was going to be a similar story. But in the second half, we probably saw as proficient a performance in the forwards from Worcester as we've seen all season. And if they basically ran hard and straight with a decent amount of pace, if they carry on doing that, I think the pre-season predictions of them laying waste to the division could come to fruition, albeit 3 or 4 months later than many of their supporters would have liked.
Who were their star players?
Well, it was basically the forwards dominated, and in the first half they maybe went a little bit wide too early. So it's been a criticism that's been quite common in recent matches, but they got back to it. They clearly listened to what Richard Hill had said in the changing room at half time, and the big boys trucked it up and basically ran straight over Doncaster. And if they can do that from minute one or more regularly in the future matches, and then unleash the fast guys rather than doing it the other way around, then they're going to be a pretty heady cocktail.
Now moving on to Bees, it was a disappointing night, a high-scoring game, but they were on the wrong end of it, weren't they?
They absolutely were. They got 4 tries, so they got a point, but they conceded many more. To their credit, they'd come back to within 5 points within an hour played. But then, this tendency they have to drop out of games for 10, 15, 20 minutes, it reared its head again, and Pirates just ran away with it in the end, and it really undermined what was a decent performance. And again, they'll be looking at their defence, because you just can't miss the amount of tackles they missed and expect to stay in the Championship.
Where do Bees go from here?
Well, they've really got to work on this defence, you know, and it's not a structural thing. It's a case that, you know, individuals are missing tackles that professional rugby players should be able to make. So, you know, whether there's something technical there, I can't think there is anything technical there because they know how to do it. So you've got to be maybe looking at mindset and whether they're wanting to do it. You know, it's some difficult questions need to be raised.
Well, all the clubs are in British and Irish Cup action this week. What are the prospects?
Well, they are. The prospects are pretty wintry. I'm not convinced all three matches will go ahead. Don't anyone book their travel plans around that, but you know, looking at the forecast, the chances of all three of them going off are slim, I would have thought. Indeed, that we may be lucky to get any of them off. Worcester have already put their match back in Curry from Friday night to Saturday. Will the weather have cleared up by then? If we assume that they all do play, then Worcester should go to Curry and rack up a handsome score. Moseley off to Ulster. If they get anything out of that, they'll be doing well because Ulster, although it'll be their second team, they'll all be full time and you know they won't have a long journey in a flight, you know, in their boots when they take the field. And Bees are off to Pontypridd where they lost in pre-season. They also lost to them at home in last year's British and Irish Cup, so they'll be hoping it's third time lucky.
Thanks, Brian. And thank you for watching. That's our last show for this year. So we'll be back in the new year with more rugby news. For now, we'll leave you with footage of the Bees match. Have a good Christmas.